Can everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Eric, are you ready?
The meeting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. We're going to start with county, and since the county chair and the county vice chair are not here, I will be acting as the county chair tonight. I'm going to call the county commissioners meeting for February 24th, 2016 to order. The announcements are that the county commissioners meeting is being audio and video recorded. Public comment, is there anything on the, anyone here who would like to make public comment for something that's not on the county agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes, warrants, and pending contracts. No objections to the minutes for January 27th will be approved. The approval of the payroll and treasury warrants for February 2016. No objections, those are approved. Commissioner reports and comments. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That takes care of county. I'm going to open up the Board of Selectmen meeting for February 24, 2016. We'll call the meeting to order. Acceptance of the agenda. Seeing no objections from the board, it will be approved. Announcements. Oh, this is my favorite one. The emergency warning systems
This is
located
just
at
for you,
2
Bobby.
Fairgrounds Road, Sconset Fire Station, the Matticat Fire Station, is to be tested Thursday, February 25th. That's tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. So when the alarm goes off, siren goes off, don't call 911 and go, "Are we all going to die? Is there a tsunami coming?" Because it's just a test.
No, just
Call
call
Bobby.
Call Chief Pittman.
I really wanted to be away the day they did this. Anyway, that's happening tomorrow. Voter registration deadline for the 2016 annual town meeting is Friday, March 11th at 8 p.m. So if you want to vote at town meeting, get in and register. And the Board of Selectmen meeting is being video and audio recorded. Public comment, anything that is not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none. New business, we have none. Approval of the minutes, warrants, and pending contracts. Approval of the payroll warrant for the week ending February 21st. Seeing no objections, those are approved. Approval of the treasury warrants for February 24th, 2016. No objections, those are approved. And approval of the pending contracts for the February 24th, 2016 is set forth on the spreadsheet identified as Exhibit 1, which exhibit is incorporated hereinto for reference. And since we have no staff tonight because Libby's on vacation and Greg is out with the Zika bug or whatever it is, I'm going to do this. So we have a professional services agreement with planning with Tredatech for $9,000. It's coming, funding is the 53G escrow account. Amendment number 3 to professional services agreement for the Marine Department with CLE Engineering for $9,950, and this is Article 10 of 2013 Annual Town Meeting. Professional service agreement for finance for an unemployment tax management corp for $3,840 for 1 year. This is from the unemployment insurance budget. A purchase agreement with the police department with Power Sports Plus for $15,623.20 for the annual replacement purchase of 5 ATVs for the Police Beach Patrol. This is coming from the Beach Revolver. Purchase agreement with the Police Department for Bright Light Electric, $34,900. Uninterruptible power supply system upgrade to the Public Safety Facility Data Center. This is the State 911 grant. A purchase agreement with the Marine Department with C.E. Beckman Company, not to exceed $34,999. This is purchase of marine grade supplies. This is from the Waterways Fund Marine Operating Budget. A purchase of the purchase agreement with IT Department with Tyler Technologies for $126,828.60 for maintenance and support services for the Munis software. This is from the IT operating budget. Any questions on those contracts? Rick?
Just one. On the Marine Department, and I think I had emailed you guys to get an update on sort of Matticat and erosion. Some of the spoils are headed out that direction, or does anybody know offhand? But we can find out when we get an update. I mean, I
What-
think that's
you
what I
mean-
heard, Bobby.
The contract here?
No, just related to the dredging of the channel and where the
The-
dredge material is
The
gonna
dredge
go?
of the channel in the harbor is already completed.
And where did the spoils
It
go?
went to the east of the jetties, between Great Point and the jetties.
Gotcha, okay.
That's already been dumped. That type of barge that did that dredging could not put the stuff on the beach. It's a hopper barge that the bottom opens up, so they
So
pump
they
it
took
into
it
the
around
boat.
and just opened it up
They
and it
go
fell out
offshore
again?
into the deeper water, open up and drop
Okay,
it, so,
okay.
yeah.
I didn't know if any was headed to Mattocket to help.
No,
out
you'd
there.
have to get a, completely different type of dredge system to blow, and I don't think they could even get close enough to dump it there, to
Yeah,
be
okay,
honest.
gotcha.
So, that really wasn't on the contracts, but, I'll
just-
entertain a motion to approve the contracts.
Sure, so move.
We're doing these, and then we'll go
Yeah,
on to the
the
last
top
one.
one, sort of
Yeah.
without objection, Bobby?
Without objection, those contracts are approved. Okay, now we're gonna move on to one that was tabled from February 17th. This is a construction agreement between the DPW Town Administration and Marin Construction for $795,800 to construct the Children's Beach Bathhouse Addition. Okay. I
We good?
believe we have a few people here that were more than able to answer questions. Heidi's here, or the OPM is here, or OEM. I
We
guess.
have our OPM, John Lemieux here, and the architect, Greg Smalley, and they have a PowerPoint to kind of go through some of the drawings and some of the information for you.
Knock yourselves out, gentlemen.
Because,
So just in the way of background, Greg will go through, some of these points that led to the initial project and the design.
Thanks, John. For those of you who have not seen me in a little while, I'm Greg Smalley from LLB Architects, and project itself has been going on for quite a while now. We started were retained back in April, I believe it was, of last year to take a look at what might be going on with the beach itself. It's public restrooms, has a number of different users, not just the kids at the beach, but also people who attend events at the green, and it supports the concession stand. Regulatory issues are the building itself, the restrooms themselves are not ADA compliant, both in getting to them and getting around inside of them. Health department requirements for the number of people who attend events require a certain number of restroom facilities in order to do that. Building code compliance is an issue as the codes have changed and the building that is there now is no longer fully compliant. So as you start to look at working on it, we need to look a little bit further into it. And Conservation Commission, the FEMA floodplain has been raised 2 feet in that area, and the building is no longer compliant with the conservation requirements. So as we start to look at the scope, we start to drive a little bit more of this. Good, Erica.
Next slide, please.
So we looked at what defines at the State Department of Health, how many bathrooms you have for the number of people who routinely use the place, the condition of those bathrooms, the accessibility of them, how they're built, and how they're maintained. ADA accessibility both on the path into it, the ramps up to it, the stairs, and the size of the bathrooms that are there. Floodplain I had mentioned before. The bathrooms, the way they're set up, are not typically what you would see for a children-oriented arrangement in terms of the ability for a family with 2 kids and 1 adult to be able to get into the bathroom, contain all the activity that's going on when you have 2 youngsters in a room.
Bobby, do you mind if just a question as we go? Just,
Yeah, go right ahead.
I just want to make sure I understand. So the bathrooms you're talking about are the bathrooms in the old building that's there right now?
That's correct.
The ones we've go around the back and have been in? Gotcha.
Correct. Also, what came up as we started to look at some of the definition of scope was the amount of storage space for the concessionaire, how easily they can get to it, which starts to drive how interesting that place is for a concessionaire to rent, and storage for the visitor service operations, which is currently in the small building that's there. And finally, the condition of the building, existing Children's Beach, which is getting to the end of its roof as well. Next.
So from a timeline standpoint, thank you. From a timeline standpoint, the initial appropriation was at the 2013 town meeting. The architect was commissioned, as Greg just said, in March of 2015 to design the new concession stand for a fee of $54,975. Design discussions were held with the town, the concessionaire, and the neighbor. The scope included renovating the existing building and adding the restrooms referenced. Preliminary cost estimate came in May of 2015 at $961,000. Well, there was some work that needed to be done. The town worked with the DPW to get in, value engineered some of the items out of it, got it down to $700,000. In addition, at the 2015 town meeting, an additional appropriation of $250 was authorized. Next slide, please.
So this was the plan as approved in August to go out to bid. So in this area, we are looking at the existing Children's Beach building and the new bathroom. As part of this, we had the property line surveyed, and it was brought forth that that property line is undefined and in dispute between the town and the adjacent property owners. So we moved the building far enough off of the property line so that we could be assured of not having any problems if the property line was settled in favor of the neighbors. Once we touch the existing Children's Beach concession, we ended up having to lift it. When we lifted it, it was decided that rotating it would better benefit the users of the green. So the front of the building that was normally over here would end up pointing that way.
Can I stop you here? Because
Yep.
what we're voting on tonight is not this.
Yep.
So let's get to what we're voting on.
Got it.
all right?
Thank you.
We don't want to be here till 10 o'clock.
Okay. So this was presented to HDC, accepted by them with their requirements, and put out to bid shortly thereafter.
Next slide, please.
Next slide.
So the first bids that came in, the three bids that were received, the low bid was $1.4 million from Marin Construction. As you can see, the second and third place bidders were higher. Bid breakdowns were submitted by all the bidders and evaluated. At September 2015, the designer met with the town to further reduce the scope and identify savings. That's the point at which we came in, were brought into the project, and still trying to figure, could the project get done for the summer of 2016? Next slide, please.
So we took the project, went back to HDC with leaving the existing building where it is, reducing the size and the arrangement of the new building, moving it back onto the property line, and taking advantage of as much of the paving as possible as a way to reduce the scope.
So that project was put back out on the street in January. 2 bids were received. The Marin bid that's in front of you tonight. What's causing the costs to be what they are? The cost of public bidding, size constraints, the building size, plumbing scope, and the schedule. It's a little bit aggressive for this summer. We all met after the bid to try to find some other items that could come out of the project, and came up with a list of about 50 to 60,000 to things that we could switch out from the details that Greg's firm had put into the building at this point. Next slide. So what's been spent to date on the job? Through today, the designer fees, the OPM fees, and the advertising costs are out there. $50,000 approximately has been spent on the project as of right now. So if this is tabled and goes nowhere, that's money out of pocket.
But
Next.
it's not included in the 750 that we have to pay for the building. It's on top of that. So it'd be 750,000 plus the 49.
Correct. So the issues that still remain, if the project doesn't move forward, it is a very populated beach. There's been complaints for the bathrooms. You'll still have the ADA issues, and the other things regarding the building and the code and any local requirements. That's all, and that's what we have.
Right,
Questions?
and just the last comment was, I think, assuming we don't go forward, you were saying we still have all those issues
If we don't go forward, yeah.
if we don't.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Questions, gentlemen?
Well, just to make sure I get some feel for what we're talking about, the one slide which showed some construction, in back of the building?
It's in that last slide, it's a
That
separate
right
building.
there is what we're building. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 toilets, 6 sinks, 8 sinks.
And they are, is the,
2 ADA bathrooms, and then 1 men's room with 3, and 1 women's room with 3.
and the existing facility,
That's, I think, 2, right? One.
is it, where is it on the plan? I'm just not,
They're on the back side there, Rick, right in
Those
there.
are the 2 bathrooms right
And
there.
they would still be used by the concession stands.
okay, so the basic building is the checkerboard stuff up front? Okay, just want to make sure. And this is a new building in effect at the bottom.
Yes.
Standalone, just sort of touches that back porch or whatever,
It
deck.
would use that porch as part of the handicap ramp.
Yeah, okay. I see. Oh, I see. You'd come up along the back and
That's the bandstand.
you're right.
That's bandstand right there, that's Children's Beach concession,
Mhm.
that's the driveway sidewalk.
And the AD access is like you just, yeah, okay. That's, gotcha.
Matt?
I think we're pushing it to get it done, and it's a lot of money. I look at the number and I just, how many square feet is it?
Approximately 900.
900.
It's $833 a square foot, approximately, give or take a few bucks a year.
And Bobby, some of the alternative ideas about a trailer to plop down for the summer or
Well,
something.
you
I mean,
know-
just so we
I
understand
mean,
the options here.
I think at some point here, we need to start thinking outside the box. And, you know, $45 million for school, $20 million for a fire station, $41 million for sewer. We haven't even gotten to Mattica yet. It's gonna be another 60. A new administration building. We're being held hostage here by a contractor who knows nobody else is gonna come in here and bid, who, by the way, is already here doing the boathouse down on Brant Point. If we were in a recession right now and we bid this, it would be probably a third to a half of what it is right now. So I personally would sit on these contracts, sit on these plans, and use something in the interim until we get to the point where it's a favorable environment for us to bid these things again.
Right, no, I hear you. I'm inclined to agree. I just want to, also, it seems to me that this doesn't do anything to the existing facility, which is, at some point, if we're going to do anything.
Another
there-
600,000 or 800,000 to get to that.
Yeah, and maybe we're better off to wait, and maybe they can be combined at a better cost structure later on.
Or
Bobby. So-
maybe you put the bid out those are the responsibility.
Or maybe you-
Make the
maybe
bid
you
longer,
tear
make
the-
it responsibility of the bidders.
Or maybe you tear the building down
Yeah.
and you get portable bathrooms. And by the way, I've researched them online, and you can get them with as many as 10 stalls in them and ADA, and they're easily moved. And if a hurricane comes, we don't have to worry about it flooding because we take it out to the DPW and put it away for the week and bring it back. And you can put food trucks down there and make the park bigger and put grills in there, so when people want to go to the park and grill their own food, they could. There's a lot of options that we haven't, but I just can't bring myself to vote for a bathroom that's gonna cost $833 a
Yeah, I
square foot.
understand. So if we had a couple of trailers, they could, fit where the footprint is for this new building?
Yeah,
I mean, just as, it may not be the best thing, but they're an option. It's like going to Cisco Beach.
there's
Where
tons of
we have
companies that make
porta
them, they're
potties.
as fancy or as plain as you want them. They're ADA compliant, they're, anywhere from 2 stalls to 20 stalls. I mean, they use these things all over the world.
It'd be good to experiment, because we might find other uses as
Well,
we go
you
down the
know,
road.
maybe we've got beaches where parking lots are regressing all the time. We're having to move these things. We put porta potties in Mattocket. How much grief do we get about the porta potties? They stink, they smell. These don't. They're air conditioned, everything. They're very nice.
So why don't we try 2 of these, or get what number of stalls for the summer, and come back and redo the whole project? And the concessionaire can work in the existing facility during the summer, I assume.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
Yeah, nothing stops that.
There's just two things to consider, tabling it is fine, labor only goes up. Labor goes up every year. Assuming that something will cost you less later, it's more than likely gonna,
I'm not assuming that, but I can tell you this much. When we went to town meeting and appropriated $550,000 for this, and then another $200,000 later on, I guarantee you that the voters in that meeting were on the assumption they were gonna get a brand-new bathhouse and restaurant, not a bathroom only. And I cannot go back to the voters a week from now and say, I approved a building that has got 8 toilets in it for $833 a square foot.
Right, it's almost like we owe it to the town meeting to ask them to spend money on what they're gonna get, which is not what we're getting here.
Correct.
Which is what you're saying, so,
So, we can vote on this tonight as a board of 3, or we can wait till we have a full board of 5 next week. I would just as soon give it one more week to do the vote, because I'd like to give it a full, fair vote for the board. I don't think it's fair to just have three of us vote on it. Maybe Tobias and Don might feel differently than I do. I mean, you all know where I stand on this. I don't know
No,
where you guys stand.
I think your points are good points. And could we, in the meantime, ask somebody to give us a real sense of the cost of two of these trailers or whatever, just to know what because I think we may want to do something for the bathrooms for this summer, if
Well,
we can.
and that's the other thing. We don't even know if we can get this built now because we delayed it for 2 or 3 weeks
Right.
by this summer.
But-
So we
but
may have
the-
to do something in the interim anyway.
So what's the,
Well,
what are the alternative
I
options?
I
Someone
would
could
have
look
no
into-
problem directing staff to research portable bathrooms. The only thing is, I don't think, given the fact that we have so many people out sick and it's school vacation, that we'll have it by next
Yeah.
Wednesday.
But we
So
might have a hint. We
yeah.
can go to your website and see the
Right.
cost.
I can print some things out and I can send people links to go to,
Yeah,
but
let's
Yeah,
just do that.
I would question, do we need it, but if we've gone, how many, 20 years without it, do we need it for this summer anyway? There's a bathroom there with the concession, it's not,
I think we could, we
accessible.
could live.
yeah, it's not accessible, but, I don't know that we need.
at the very minimum, we could get 2 ADA bathrooms in there and 1 trailer, which is,
Yeah, and there's no alcohol, there's no liquor and things going on down there anymore. That was changed, so some of the pressure that was on there is not on there.
I'll be one of my other concerns with this is, I would love to see a beautiful, nice, clean, fancy restaurant down there. But the minute you put this kind of money into that building, somebody's gonna wanna lease it and turn it into fine waterfront dining. And that's not what that beach is.
And we're gonna have to say no.
Right.
Which is what happened at Jetty's at the last renewal.
And we're probably gonna have to say no again on the next time we put it out for an RFP.
Yeah, and I
So,
think we should be prepared for that, Bobby.
so, do you guys wanna vote on this, you wanna wait till next week?
No, I think, I would, if it takes a motion, I would move we bring this back for further discussion next week. It's that simple.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
All right, that takes care of contracts. Consent items, we have several consent items on here, most of them are from the planning office, I believe there are 6, 7, 8 in total. They've all been through the real estate review committee, they've all made recommendations on them, unless someone has a specific
just
question
so-
about any of them.
I just sort of want to say, reviewing the material, it seems like these are all paper streets within the Surfside area, It's sort of I don't mean to call them routine, but the normal kind of business we've been dealing with in this process. So I have no problem with there being.
I'd like to, I'd entertain a motion to approve all of them.
Yeah, my only question was, there was a releasing an easement, what are we releasing? That was the number 8.
This is a little different. This is over on White Street, and
Yeah, seemed a little different than the others.
maybe we could answer
Yeah.
a question on that. Yeah, I wondered whether or not is it used at all for walking or anything else today?
No, this is part of the, Andrew Vorse, this is part of what were referred to as the ghost paper streets. So these are basically, these paper streets were platted over with other subdivisions that went on top of them, even though the actual roadways weren't officially removed. So there's no benefit to the owner in that they're getting additional ground cover or actual land area. They already pay for essentially the entire area of the lot. So in this case, there's no walking path, there's no nothing on these particular ones. And what we've done with these is just simply release the easement. We took the rights of people to pass and repass, and then we're simply releasing it
I got you, so you're taking the rights that were in those paper streets and releasing that right,
back to the owner, right?
because, all right, I got you.
And just to say it again another way, access from the boulevard to the Boy Scout property behind these lots, I don't think there is any. It's not too far to go around to Lover's Lane. You get direct access there.
Correct.
So just because
Okay.
I know that was a question at 106 at one point.
All right.
And we do actually own another one. We do own a potential access further,
Do we further?
like
further-
at a midpoint, which is at a location that makes
Okay,
sense.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Yep.
Okay. So let's make sure we keep that around and, okay?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve these?
Yep.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
In the future, gentlemen, anything that's on the consent item, if you have a question, if we could get it to staff before our meeting, that way we maybe get an answer and we won't have to pull these things, okay?
Although I did just one thing, I mean, I don't mind doing that, but sometimes the question is illuminating for
Leads
everybody.
to another.
No, and I
No,
understand that, but I mean, if it's just something, like that, we could get an answer, maybe we can have it get it even in the, in there, so
Yeah,
we're all
okay.
understanding it,
Yep.
okay? All right, next is a request for an execution of a proposed temporary license agreement to allow for residential construction and/or improvements, on a parcel of land situated at 6 New Hampshire Avenue, map 60.3.1, as parcel 412 in said Nantucket shown as lots 1 and 2, block 32 on plan numbered 2408-M, filed with certificate of title number 66 in Nantucket Registry of Deeds. Mr. Brescher.
Good evening. For the applicant, Daniel H. Bathen Jr., trustee of the 79 Main Avenue Nominee Trust, Attorney John Brescher. I represent the applicant. What you have before you is a recent case of erosion in Matticat. And effectively, my client was awarded the yard sale parcel behind his lot. That's, you can see there, owned by the town of Nantucket. He was awarded that parcel on September 16th, 2014. It has been stuck in land court because we're waiting for it to, it's an old tax taking, and they need an S petition to change the name on the face of the certificate of title before they can convey it to my client. In the meantime, as you know, there's been a tremendous amount of erosion in Matticat. Accordingly, he needs to move his house. Is the one closest. That one is the old Eelskin Inn, and so he's going to relocate the Eelskin Inn to the easternmost corner of his property. There is an existing shed that is then going to be located on a portion of this yard sale parcel, which he does not own, and so he is currently asking for a license from the town to store it there until he gets title.
Temporary on property, he's gonna acquire title. to the
Exactly,
property.
which and we've
Sort of
reviewed
like
this with
the-
the town council.
Reminds me of the Locanes, I think their name
Yeah.
was.
Any questions? I have one question, John. It's not related to this license, but I noticed that the dwelling he's gonna move, looks like it ties into a septic tank that then pumps to a second tank to the existing leach fields in the back there. So that's one tank, goes to the second tank, goes there. Is he gonna remove that tank and move it over here?
I believe that he is. He just got his friendly enforcement order from the Concom.
Because I'd be concerned that if the erosion's coming there, that tank's gonna be
Sure.
exposed.
Chairman Acosta, I just want you to know that I have spoken with Mr. Bathon, and I've been very clear that he needs to work out all those issues with the health department and the health director, so he is aware that there are issues that he needs to address.
Okay. And Roberto, you would make him remove that tank, right, not just abandon it? Because we've had problems with tanks before where people just abandon them and then they end up in the beach and we have to
Exactly.
deal with them, so.
Exactly. Paul Santos has already been in our office discussing this situation. They're going to be moving the tank, and they're going to keep the 2 trenches at the top right that you see.
Right, yeah.
But they are going to be
Put
moving.
another tank over here and tie into it?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. All right, I just wanted to make sure of that.
Absolutely.
Motion,
So moved.
Second,
all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
John.
much.
All right, the next is a Nantucket Island Chamber of Commerce request for an execution of Mass DOT event notification for the Daffodil Parade on Milestone Road to be held April 30th, 2016. This is pretty straightforward,
Yeah,
guys.
it's what you sign every year for the
We
Mass
do it every
DOT
Yeah,
for
I
Milestone.
don't think you even need to
Move
go any
approval.
farther. Move
Second.
approval, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The next is a request for a waiver for Charter 54-1-C, and this is the Code of Nantucket. This is to do a tailgate picnic in Sconset, same thing.
Yep.
Motion?
Motion made,
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Thank you. And finally, we have a public hearing to consider the adoption of fees associated with the town of Nantucket film, video, and photograph policy.
Yes.
What did we come up with?
So this goes along with the policy that we talked about, I believe it was last week. We went back and created a more layered approach to these fees. Took what we had, basically what we had existing was a $20 application fee and a $1,000 a day fee for crews over 10, and then nothing below that. So we wanted to give ourselves options to deal with all sorts of crews that we deal with in commercial filming. As we discussed last week, we are not going to be charging fees for wedding photographers, local nonprofits, that sort of thing. It's mostly just for commercial activities that impact public property and the public. And all of these are based on a lot of different film policies across the country, so we didn't kind of make any of these up. Application fee going up to $25 like we do for most of our applications now. We have filming revisions and that sort of thing, and that's for the big crews that tend to drop in on a Friday and change everything and want to get a lot of things done. So that type of thing, revisions. Commercial film license daily fee, this is pretty standard, $100 a day. Again, that's like a commercial company coming in, a travel channel or something of that sort, on public property. And again, we gave ourselves this out in the contract or in the policy that it's really going to be assessed based on their impact on public property and that sort of thing.
So how are we going to determine the difference between a small under 10 production daily company and someone like John Stanton with a sound boom and a
Yeah, that's,
well, who's going to be the one to make the decision that John's okay, but this
Right.
guy's not? Is it going to be the summer special reserve officer that we hired that's going to walk up to them and say, hey, where's your permit? Because that's my
No,
concern.
Yeah, no, and that's not the plan at this point. Basically, this is to address those companies that do come to us, those commercial companies in which they do come to us all year for these types of activities. It's not to pull people off the street. If someone puts and we've put this language in there too, and I've sent this to Gene Mann and the crew there to distribute to the local filmmakers. If you're setting up a tripod and a crew and blocking a whole sidewalk or a street, then we need to, discuss it. It's not necessarily a daily fee, but at least an application so that we know these things are going on. But it's not to pull people off the street. It's for kind of what comes to us. I see your point, but it's not
Okay.
something that's
You know,
gone on. I don't
and
think we've done that in the
I
past.
see your point, but I've seen it happen here before where they go, well, it's on the books. It's on the books. We got to enforce it.
Right, but that would be probably for us to communicate down, and that's
Yeah,
not something I
well,
don't think we've done.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
In my experience.
We
Once
haven't-
it's on the books, it's on the books.
Right. It comes down to, this is what we've had to deal with in the past couple of years, and I can give you all the examples of kind of what they've put us through commercial-wise, off-island groups. It's not at all,
I know. I'm not arguing
I
that.
can promise you it won't happen. I know I can do my best to do that. It's going to have to be a directive that goes down to officers that would come from the police department that, that's what this is for. They can ask for that. It's more of if there's a disruption and there's a complaint, if we have this on the books and they know what's kind of going on. I don't think they're going to be pulling people off the streets unless they're causing some sort of disruption that, a complaint's been filed.
The other way, how about, if someone comes in that's a nonprofit or a wedding, someone that's shooting, will they have a license with them, or they have something to identify themselves, so if the police say, gee whiz,
No, like wedding photographers, news
maybe-
media, anything of that sort, amateur photographers. Again, it's more of, really kind of setting up shop. If someone has a handheld or something that's walking around and they're not stopping traffic, they're not, blocking, it's,
no one cares?
no. That's the language we put in there too, and that's kind of standard that I've taken from other locations. I don't think it's something we're going to, have time to be pulling unless, again, like we said, they're really disrupting something and there's a complaint. And
You know,
again, go ahead.
It seems to me we've gone through a lot of effort here, Bobby, and
Give it a try.
we're gonna find out how it works in practice, and I think there's closer coordination between,
Right.
the licensing and the supervision and the police department. So it's,
Well, I'm willing to entertain a motion.
Right. And I think, we're going to be putting the application up. It's going to be something that for these larger things would be discussed in the events group, and you would have to approve any sort of public property filming. We have a film coming that's been here before that's technically student, but they have about 50 people. They're going to be here for, 4 weeks from April to May, and, they'll come before you to get that permit approved. So, again, we're, students, that sort of thing, we're just asking for an application. If they have something that has a gunshot, that has anything that's going to disrupt people, we just want to know. It's not going to be a daily fee.
So, Bobby, I think we're prepared to make a motion to accept the,
Oh, I didn't realize this was a public
Alright,
hearing.
yeah.
Does anyone want to make public comment on this? Sorry.
No.
Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
all right, and I'd make a motion to adopt the fee schedule as presented to the board.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm opposed. I think that this is gonna be, this really, one, we had the public hearing in the school vacation week when no one's on island. Two, there should have been some type of thing in here that said small group should have been 7 to 10. I mean, I've seen it at least a dozen times this summer, especially in the fall during wedding season, when the bride and groom and their wedding party want to stand in front of the Compass Rose and get their picture taken. And the photographer stands in the middle of the road for maybe 5 minutes, and traffic does back up, but everybody's, oh, look at the beautiful bride. Now we're going to have a policeman come up and go, where's your permit? And I can see it coming. It happens in this town over and over again. We say, well, we're not going to do this. We're going to enforce it here. We're not going to enforce it there. And the minute the law goes on the books, it gets exploited. So,
They're specifically exempted.
well,
Wedding, I mean, we went to great lengths to
you
exempt
got
all that.
you got it passed 2-1. But when
Okay.
this backfires on us and there's people standing in front of this room, I hope I'm wrong, but I'll be able to say I didn't vote for this.
Work hard so Bobby is wrong, please.
Yeah.
I want to be able to tell him he's wrong next fall.
Yeah, I'll do my
This
best.
is the same. This reminds me of when they said you couldn't be on the beach after 10 o'clock at night unless you were fishing. And once a summer I got stopped for years by the 20-year-old kid on the four-wheeler going, "You can't be on the beach. It's 10:05."
You mean they didn't suggest to him that he shouldn't stop you?
He just didn't care. He was told that nobody was supposed to be on the beach after 10 o'clock unless they were fishing. So you had to go home. You didn't have to stay here. You just had to go home. So anyway, moving on. Town manager's report. We have the Airport Enterprise Fund 2017 projected budget.
Thank you. Tom Rafter, Airport Manager. Before we get into the numbers, I'd just like to give you a little bit of an overview of this year. As you all know, Island Air has gone out of business. However, we do have a replacement, Retrix, that is looking to start by April or May, hopefully. We're waiting to get their agreement back. We have the control tower under construction, due to be completed before the season. We completed work on our north apron, repaving. JetBlue has last year added weekend service to Washington, D.C., and probably most important, well, one other item, we had the formerly used defense site cleared, and probably one of the most important items is that we have a draft agreement for the repayment. And an update on that, I worked closely with Silvio and Kara, and with regard to the in-kind service and the materials that we were talking about, there's a state website that identifies what the average cost of this material is in this specific region. And it comes in at less than half of what they're paying currently. So we're going to work to try to get that language solidified and so we can have that agreement get through. Coming up in 17, we have 3 major projects, some interactive training, the electrical vault for our airfield, and the public address system. A number of changes in air service. JetBlue is beginning May 4th this year. They're starting earlier. I believe they're going to be adding a second flight to Boston on Saturdays. Delta is going to be flying to LaGuardia on Saturdays. American is flying LaGuardia Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they're increasing the size of the aircraft. So all that's good news for us. In terms of the budget itself, our revenues are going up slightly. They should actually be going up a little bit more, but we have a one-time abatement for the tenants that we had to relocate because of the formerly used defense site. So that is an abatement during 17. They'll be back online in 18. The increase too is also because we increased some of our fees. We doubled the CFC, which is a car rental fee. We also increased the ramp fees for the aircraft parking for the corporate and private jets. So that's what's driving the revenue increase. The expenses are up just over $400,000. $100,000 of that is in the repayment back to the town. The first year was $135,000. It goes up to $235,000 for the remaining years. There's another $140,000 in legal fees and professional services, which is associated with the land, some of the land issues we have. Erica, you might want to go to the next, to the summary slide, yeah. This just goes through our table of organization, and that's a summary, yeah. So as I said, there's about 400 and some thousand in increase. There's a significant increase of about 60 to 70,000 in contracts and maintenance. We had a number of things where we didn't have contracts for our HVAC, for our doors, a lot of maintenance type things, as well as increase in the salary side.
Tom, just to be clear, are you talking, for example, 8698 to 9129?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I got it.
Now, and I want to urge you to use caution when you look at these numbers. It looks, and it's going up significantly. And you can see the dependency on retained earnings is increasing. However, we have to look at this in conjunction with what's down below, and that's the fuel revolver. Because of the low price of fuel, we have a significant amount of money in the fuel revolver. Today we have over $1 million, and at the upcoming town meeting, we're going to be looking to transfer about $1 million of that. You'll see it down, it's actually below, there it is. We're going to look to transfer $1,041,000 of that up into our operating. Now, as you probably know with the DOR, there's some interesting rules and when you can count revenue and so on and so forth. We have that $1,041,000 to transfer now. At the end of this year, we're projected to have about another $1,008,000 in there, in addition to that. However, we can't plan or program that until it gets approved by DOR. So in the coming years, we will probably look to have a transfer from the fuel revolver up into our operating. You may remember that was initiated and started so that we had enough money to buy fuel. We leave about 50 to 100,000 in it. It started out with 50 or 100,000, up to 600,000, then $1 million, and now it's up over a couple $1 million that will be in there. So
Tom, you said that fuel prices have gone down.
yes,
Has the price of aviation fuel gone down at the airport?
yes, it fluctuates.
Do you
but the
have a
margin
fixed
remains.
margin that you work on based on what you pay for it, what you mark it up?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
But the revolver, the way it works, and that's why we're looking to reduce the cap to 4 million. The cap is very high, and that cap is an expense cap. Once the revenue exceeds that, it flows into the operating. So in the 17 budget, for example, we have $2 million in revenue in the operating account, and we'll have $4 million in the revolver.
Questions?
So in effect, what you're saying is the prior slide where we saw you down about $1.2 million or whatever, you're going to be able, after town meeting, to transfer $1 million to cover that in effect?
Yes, it was
Yeah,
actually
make sure I got
800,000 was the reliance on
800
retained
was the
earnings, and we're going to transfer over $1 million something.
Anything else?
Yeah, I would just, on the payroll side, you're going up, payroll and benefits, you're going up about 150,000 approximately.
Yes, a big chunk of that is the retirement system. There was a change to that this past year that we had to budget
Now,
for.
are you gonna have the same number of employees, more employees, or less employees? next
Same
year?
number.
Same number.
We actually consolidated 2 positions, 2 superintendents into one, and just made one a supervisor.
All right, so if it's gone up 150, but you're down 1,
Well, we're net is still the same
I
number.
understand, but
but it's
what I wanna make sure that we're not doing is what we've done in some of the departments over the years, is we have fewer people in the department, but the department wages still keep going up, and then you get to a point where you can't give the services and you can't do what you're supposed to do.
Now, last year we added 1 seasonal, but
Okay.
this year the count.
I just wanna make sure we're not balancing it by layoffs and being in worse shape.
No, we have 33 full-timers, 17 seasonal, and 1 was added last year.
Any other questions?
No.
I'm just going to make a general comment, Tom, just for your own knowledge is that I think it's great, you're doing the best you can, but I have concerns that where this airport's gonna be in 5 years. You know, you keep raising fees or creating fees, and I don't know if it can continue to, these fees can continue to go up and up and up and up and up without,
I understand.
without concerns about whether we've just become a little private airport for 2 months a year, because, you know, Island Airlines had its issues. It can say all it wants, but some of the blame is on us for, you know, increasing fuel fees and increasing landing fees.
Excuse me, we did not increase their fuel fees, we lowered them, and they refused to sign an agreement.
Okay. Anyway, I just get concerned, you know, that,
But I agree,
you know,
we're
And this-
looking at diversification and sustainability. In order to sustain the revenue, to address your concern, because
Yeah.
that's the stuff that keeps me awake at night, and that's what FinCom asked us. We're looking at additional land rentals. We have 5 acres on Sun Island Road. We have the 2 Bunker
Right.
Road ones. I had a tenant come in today and ask for an additional acre or so that they want to rent. So we have land, we're looking we're looking at the non-aeronautical revenues. is what
right,
we're
and,
looking-
and along those lines, what I wanted to get to it was, maybe there's some type of way in the future where, I don't know if your parking lot is completely utilized, especially in the off-winter months, that we could utilize, we could make some type of agreement with the town and the airport to
That's-
utilize part of that for long-term parking,
I
or
think
for a
that's
satellite lot, because we have limited parking, you have a lot of parking. You don't
Right.
necessarily need it all in the off-season, maybe in the summer you do, but maybe we could, I know that some of that was funded with FAA money, and there's certain rules,
No,
but,
not parking.
so, you
that-
know, it's
that's
something that
open.
we could possibly work out, where in lieu of some of the payback, we could take
I think,
part of the
I
lot
think
and
that's a
utilize it.
great idea, just so you're aware of where we're moving with our parking. We had looked at adjusting the fee schedule, but we decided not to because of the lack of reliability of the system. So we have a capital item to replace the system. The chip coin system is not working.
Right.
So we're gonna replace the hardware, then we can get into any type of thing like
Right.
that. And I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, you know, like you got all that parking for those rental cars that you use in the summer, and in the winter, there's hardly any here, so maybe we could utilize part of that space or something. You know, it's something that we
Yeah,
could possibly
When we run out
do.
of space here or other places.
Right, right, exactly.
Or as
So,
a
and it
satellite
might be a way for you to not have to give us, we could, you know, do some like like-kind payment, like
In
in
kind,
lieu-
whatever.
yeah, in kind, exactly, so,
Whatever way we
No.
can do it to
Right.
maximize utilization, I think is great.
right. Any other questions on the budget?
No.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next, Selectmen's reports and comments. Committee reports, do we have any?
We did have a meeting of the Board of Health, discussed a number of things, and we are going to hold a agenda item, the next meeting of the Board of Health, considering the Dukes Road situation.
Okay.
So that's underway. I guess that was really the highlight of the meeting, Bobby.
So, we've posted a meeting for 3 o'clock on Monday, or we're going to post a meeting, Erica, we went over it in the agenda tonight, to discuss, how did we word it, Matt? The financing of the sewer
Potential
extension.
recommendation for us prior to the FinCom.
So,
meeting.
we just thought we should have a discussion a little bit more about what the percentages being.
Yeah, and
So we're gonna meet here at 3 o'clock on Monday.
In the 4 o'clock meeting?
Is here as well.
Is here or
It's here.
upstairs?
I think it's here as well, so. We just thought we should have a little discussion amongst ourselves before we get to the FinCom, so we're all on the same
Yep,
page.
well, good idea, no problem.
And then one other thing, and Rick, you actually reminded me of this with your email today from the article from the Cape Cod Times, is I really, I don't know if we need to put it on the agenda, or if we just need to direct staff to start investigating, and I think probably this is a Jeff Carlson thing, the dredging of the 2 ditches on Long Pond, First and Second Bridge. that-
Can't be that big a
you know,
deal just to get it done.
If
Bobby.
you read that article today, which I did, it was very fascinating that
Yeah.
by just dredging that one culvert, the tidal flow in that marsh went from 6 to 9 inches to 2 to 4 feet.
Wow.
And that's what would happen in Long Pond again. And I think if we can get that pond, those 2 ditches dredged, which I don't think would be hard. I think we could probably put it out locally to bid. Somebody like Tuscana or somebody could do it.
Exactly.
We could see a great increase in the flushing of that pond, which would help probably with the nutrient loading in that end of the island, so.
Good, okay.
And I don't think we need to run an S-mass analysts for that. I
No.
think we can just do it.
I think we
so.
just do it. It's maintenance.
We used to do it all the time, so. Any other comments or
Nope,
reports?
I'm good.
Motion to
Motion
adjourn?
to adjourn, made.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Record time, Erica, 52 minutes.
Well, this is
And
the
I did county
slowest
too.
week of the year.
This is the quietest week of the year.